Yeah, I had to figure out high school because I started missing a lot of it due to traveling and shooting. Riding Rampage, the first time scared the absolute heck out of me. I'd never been on that sort of exposure before.
Yeah.
Seeing Godcheck backflip it, bananas. And then Tom comes in and front flip it. The judges have to go in with a neutral mindset. Just because someone's done something in practice doesn't mean we have to hold them to doing their contest run. Just 911. Do it. It's free. They're more than happy to get you out of there. Just do it. Yeah, I personally love it. I would never want to try a mullet, to be honest.
How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, dude. How you been?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Hey, happy to be here.
Guest number 4. I've known you for quite some time. I still don't know how to pronounce correctly your name. I feel like you've corrected me in the past. So say it to the camera.
In French or English?
In English. In Canadian English.
As simple as Geoff Gullevich.
Okay. I feel like I've called you Geoff for the longest time, and I feel like I've been corrected so much, but...
Everybody from Europe calls me Geoff.
Okay. Yeah. Because we have a name called Geoff.
Exactly.
Well, I don't even know.
Well, phonetically, that's how you would pronounce it.
Yeah.
And I'm not from the UK where the name originates. So I go with Geoff.
Okay. I try to remember for at least the rest of the podcast.
Hey, you do you.
So last time I saw you, we were biking on the North Shore, probably end of January, maybe February.
Yeah.
It was snowing. And instead of skiing, we're mountain biking. That was pretty fun. We did some shots actually for Norona, which is our common partner. But I want to start the podcast with probably one of the best trips I've had, and it was with you. We went down to Norway. So can you actually tell the audience a little bit about what we did down there?
That trip was incredible. Well, as you know, we were focused on shooting Norona products in the home country that Norona came from, Norway. And it was amazing stopping by the HQ, meeting our team manager, the owner of the company, as well as a ton of other amazing employees, photographers, designers, the entire crew. It was incredible. We did a lot of product testing, product shooting, and we traveled out to the coast. We went to the Norona canvas.
This was very fun.
It was so cool. And then traveled a little further north into the mountains. We didn't go that far north because there was still snow at that time. From my understanding, we're going to go back this year, later in the year, when there's not as much snow. So we might make up to Lofoten.
Yep.
But it was incredible. We were shooting until like 11 p.m. at night because it's just endless summer there.
That's how it is there, yeah.
It's crazy. Like trying to sleep completely throws you off. As soon as we landed in Oslo, it was just a whole other world. The people were very genuine, very friendly, very quiet. It's like no one's going to just talk to a stranger or yell at you or anything like that. It was very North American of me to like start conversations, and people were like, "Why are you talking to me?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you were in Italia right before, if I remember correctly. So you flew from Italia. We arrived at the same time in Norway, but me, I was jet lagged, so I missed the first ride. You went to do like some riding around, and I decided to sleep at the hotel. But then I came in the second day on the ride. And I guess I was still jet lagged. So I ended up crashing into a tree. And I was really scared that at this point I had wasted the entire trip. But fortunately, as you said, we went to Canva. You did some riding.
Yeah.
And me, I just did sauna, cold plunge. I guess lake. No, I did sauna, lake, cold plunge, sauna.
Yeah.
And I've done that all day. But it was pretty incredible. Actually, have you seen the video? Because Norona put together a video from the trip. But have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
So I got a link. It's going to come out really shortly.
Amazing.
And it's they've done a really good job with how it's edited and put together, and that really got me to like relive the trip, which was awesome. And I really look forward to the next one this summer. So we talked about the trip in Norway, but you've been traveling pretty more than anyone I know. You've been to so many countries. Have you kept track of how many flights you took and how many countries you have been to?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I started when I was so young. It's been 21 years of actually being a full-time professional rider, with probably 4 years leading up to that with making a little bit of money and getting bikes. But it's been a long time. And when you're that young, you don't know what the world's going to give you. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know what it is at that time. Like when I was 14 years old and things began moving the right direction into cycling and what I wanted to do, you're excited that someone's giving you a bike. You're not thinking like, where's this going to take me? What's going to happen? You just want to go ride. You want to have fun. And it's been over 2 decades of traveling the world, minus a little blip during the plague there, the Great Plague. But it's been incredible. And no, I have absolutely no clue how many flights I've taken. I could probably tell you which countries I've been to, but I would need a day and a half and
just even to write them down.
And like a nice yellow legal pad to like write everything down, and I'd still forget some, I'm sure.
And so you started obviously mountain biking young, but you became a professional very young, probably younger than most people our age. And now obviously the sport has become, so big, and kids, become known and well known like sooner. But at the time you're really young to be in those movies like New Disorder, and we'll talk about that. So I think it's going to be really interesting to a lot of like young people watching or listening to the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you become who you are right now?
Well, I think I saw my first bike movie at 11. It was my older brother's friends that were all into mountain biking at the time. So they were probably 13 or 14 at the time. And it was a Thanksgiving dinner. We're in the other room watching North Shore Extreme 2. And immediately I knew that's what I wanted to do. Like seeing all the skinnies on the North Shore, stupid drops to flat, like just silly things on old bikes that were just failing left, right, and center. And immediately I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. It looks just dumb enough to be perfect for me. And got a paper route immediately. Started walking up and down the streets asking homeowners if I could do their gardening, mow their lawns, take out their garbage, anything I could do to make a buck. And, well, not anything. But I figured that wasn't paying the bills. That wasn't getting me enough money. So my parents actually forged my job application at 12 years old to say I was 13 so I could start working at McDonald's. And I took that on, doing the whole, would you like fries with that? Could barely see over the register. Like, are you sure you're 13? I'm like, uh-huh. And I think actually at 13, I was seen by Todd Fiander, Digger, who did the North Shore Extreme movies. And he invited me to come shooting with him. And that's basically what began the snowball effect into the career where I am now. That led to On Top Bike Shop giving me, what was it, Ellsworth. Okay. And then Banshee noticed me back when they made the indestructible bikes. They started hooking me up. And then Gabe Fox was at Cove Bikes at the time.
Yes.
He picked me up at, I want to say 15. And then I was with them for some time until we didn't agree anymore. And I went to Rocky Mountain. Wade Simmons and Andreas Hessler actually pushed as hard as they could to get me on the program. And that's when it really kicked off. I was 18 years old, and then I was actually financially set. And I was able to stop making pistas at Presto Cucina in West Vancouver. I think it's 17th and Marine Drive. And
still in business?
I think it's still in business.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't go over there that often, but I do make a point to see if it's still there when I drive by. And last time I did, it was. So hopefully they're making it through these hard times. But yeah, that's more or less what kicked it off. It just grew from North Shore Extreme, getting my first cover on Dirt Magazine, signing with Cove Bikes, and then just this whole growth effect to being with Rocky Mountain for 11 years. And I felt like I'd outgrown my rank of seniority there. And the only way to grow was to take a headhunting offer that was extended me from Focus Bikes. And then I saw the opportunity with Orbea making a big push in North America and literally cold called them and was, for short story, I was just like, hey, do you want to work with the Geoff Gullevich? And the North American marketing manager at the time was just like, let me call you back. Called back in 15 minutes. He's just like, what do we need to do? And it was game on from there.
It's pretty funny because so just to interrupt you, but you mentioned two people, Todd with the North Shore videos, and I actually had Steve Van Der Hoek on the podcast. He was episode 2 and also mentioned Todd because he also was involved with the videos, then took a different path for his career. And then I had Jesse Melamed, which also went to Rocky Mountain, obviously, but he was also noticed by Andreas and Wade Simmons. So just similar as you. And another thing, like people think that when you're a professional athlete, like brands call you all the time, you're like, hey, I want to sponsor you.
Yeah.
But very often it doesn't work like that. Very often us riders, we have to reach out to brands that, we like, where we see an opportunity and be like, hey, I like your product. I like your brands, and I feel like you can benefit from having me using your product. And that's how it works most of the time. It's really rare that, someone calls you and be like, hey, I want to work with you. Like me with Propane, like I initiated the conversation. They didn't come towards me. And so that's something I just wanted to mention because a lot of kids, it's like a really common question. How do you get sponsored? And it's if you wait for brands to call you, most likely you're probably never going to get sponsored.
You're going to be waiting a while.
You're going to be waiting for a long time, yeah.
No, to really make it in this career path, like you need to hustle. You need to be able to speak, you need to be able to present yourself, you need to be able to put up a case to justify why you should be making money. You got to, and then you actually have to produce a product or results.
You have to deliver.
Exactly.
Because it's nice to talk and say, this is what I want to do for your brand. Mm-hmm. But if you don't follow up with actually doing it, those relationships don't last.
Yeah, and the industry is small. People talk. It's not like one company is actually enemies with the other. Like they're talking all the time. It is literally insider trading in a legal sense.
Yeah, no, everybody knows each other, which is obviously you should always be very professional for obvious reasons, and because that's how it should be. But when a rider doesn't do a good job with a company, other companies know about it.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the tips that I give to people who ask me, like, how do you become a professional rider? I think obviously talent and skills on the bike is very important, but being very professional and being consistent is equally as important, if not more important.
Yeah.
And I think what every top mountain biker and every top athlete in the sport, what they have in common is like hard work and consistency. Because you can have a couple of really good years, but if you're not consistent, that's going to go downhill at some point. At the first injury, if you haven't been consistent, you haven't been putting the work, brands are not going to be willing to keep investing in you because you haven't been able to show that you are like a safe investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, especially in these times too, marketing dollars are disappearing and companies are going with the safe bet right now. So you need to be professional on and off the bike.
Totally. So we talk about your start of career. Me, the first time I heard about you was really during those New World Disorder videos. The first one I've watched was actually the fourth, with Darren Berklow doing a 360 on that cliff. I think it was in Kamloops.
It was right in the arena there.
And that was a cover. And I remember I used to buy that magazine called Big Bike. And every year they had a special edition with a New World Disorder video. And that's the first time, I really saw that. And I think you were on the New World Disorder 6.
Yeah.
If I'm correct. And then others. But that was your first one. And that would have been when I, really got to know who you were as a rider.
That's too funny. Yeah, it's been such a ride. It's so long.
How was it filming for those? Because at the time, we were like riders so those videos were coming once a year, basically. Mm-hmm. And that was such a huge deal. Like having a segment was a dream of, any professional biker. And me as a kid, like, going out in the forest and trying to build jumps, I always had in mind, like, well, this could be a jump that maybe could make it into a segment. And, what if I managed to have like 10 or 15 different jumps like this I could make? And we used to like, obviously download the playlist because the music were really rad and stuff. So like walk us through like how it is to work with that crew and what goes into making a segment.
It was amazing. Generally you have a bunch of moves that you built yourself here or there, or you're going to locations where you can build things like the desert. Kamloops is a great option. And you could basically just bring a pick and a shovel and create jumps in the Valley Cliff area. Or, for instance, like the Ord Road Gap was already in existence and only a handful of people had done that. And I got to hit that for the New World Disorder movies. But overall, you had all year to build features, get them ready. You could hit them or whatever you wanted. And then the film crew came to town and it was time to send.
How long was it? Like how much time, how many days of filming?
You'd probably spend like 2 months building and then they'd come for 3 or 4 days and you'd spend that entire time polishing everything off. And then they'd roll on to the next rider and then you'd kind of go to your next area, get features prepped or made. And then, they'd link up again and you shoot. You'd probably have 4 good shoot sessions through the year to create an entire segment.
Yeah.
And yeah, you had all year to do it. There was no short form content at that time. So
yeah, no social media. So you are really relying on that for sponsors.
Exactly. And it was so cool with print media and everything because getting a cover, especially on like bike magazines, Freeride, Dirt, Big Bike, like those were like trophies on their own. You didn't need to go to big events if you could be in these films, and that was your project all year. But most of us did ride competitions as well. That was the beginning of Slopestyle. So the first one that I went to was the Adidas Slopestyle in Austria.
Sandbach.
That's right.
I remember that massive drop.
Yeah.
Far right of the course.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but like I've watched so many videos.
Exactly.
I probably remember the features like just as well as you, even though I haven't been there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Those mix of like Slopestyle and Freeride.
For sure. And it was just so neat. Like my first Slopestyle on the world stage, I got 5th. And I was just like, okay. Like I got an invite to the next one. Game on. Neural Disorders just invited me to start shooting with them. Like, this is rad. And that was kind of when I knew it was happening. Like, this is game on. I'm in the big films, doing well at events. I'm healthy. I'm still in high school. And, I had to figure out high school because I started missing a lot of it due to traveling and shooting.
Yeah, so how does that go?
Luckily for me, I rode with another kid from my school whose mom was my biology teacher. And she recognized that I actually had a career path that was in the works. And there are so many kids doing like football, basketball that were able to miss school for these games that were probably not going to pursue this after high school. So she actually put up the argument for me to do some alternative assignments to make up the missed time from school. And
that actually makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because like soccer, I mean, of course you got like Lionel Messi and, all the big names.
Totally.
And of course there is more professional soccer than there is professional bikers just because it's such a bigger sport. But you got so many kids trying, and there is like a way for kids to, skip school while still getting some type of support and scholarship so they can go to games while still learning and getting like some type of degree. But when you're a professional mountain biker, there's not much going on. Huh?
There's nothing. Like a lot of people like Semenuk was homeschooled. If you remember Ryder Kasparek, homeschooled. They could go ride as much as they wanted and get their work done, and they were fine. But there's soccer academies, there's hockey academies, there's skiing academies. All these people have direct career paths mixed in with education. So when the snow is good, or it's game time, or whatever sport you're in, you're exempt from any work. And it's like, go compete in your sport, get the work done later. And cycling wasn't recognized whatsoever as a legit sport when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Or when I was young man. But,
I'm just a tiny bit younger than you.
I know.
It's funny. I've never really thought about that. I've never thought about, the need to skip school, because I guess I've never been in that scenario where I had to escape school to go biking, since like I wasn't really pursuing a career until after I was done with school. Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely changing around here. I mean, Whistler is a special case, but there's so many great skiers and bikers coming from Whistler. I think like teachers, parents, like the entire system, like sees that as there is an actual career to be made. Yeah. That being said, there's only so few people who actually make a career out of it. I think school is still very important, and
100%.
Even if you do miss school to go to events and training, I think it's important to manage to keep in mind that your scholarship is something that you can't really catch up later on in life, at least high school. Of course, like post-secondary studies, you can always do it later, but at least getting to the A grade level, I think is really key, because I'm sure you benefit from having good education. Like you benefit from it in your career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just simple things, but like we actually spend a ton of time sending emails. Yeah. And while you don't learn everything at school, writing an email is, something you do learn at school. It might not be an email, but it's like writing and using proper English.
Yeah,
even though mine is a bit tricky, but
yeah, math is great to have. I would never tell someone to not finish high school. Like at least get that at the bare minimum.
At the bare minimum.
And there are a ton of the greatest minds out there that never went to post-secondary. But I would say if you have the opportunity, you should go. Get an education. Sport will always be there. But to have the education to move forward and pursue an actual career and have your sport as your happy place, as your release, and things like that, it's nothing beats it.
Because before making mountain biking like a professional career, it needs to be a hobby. It needs to be like a passion.
Yeah.
If you don't have that passion, you'll never be able to make it as a professional career.
No, you'll never have the grind to actually do it.
Exactly.
Like, this is what we love doing. This is what we thought about while we were staying in school. This is what we drew on our textbooks in school. And it needs to start there. And it just percolates and grows and becomes all you think about it. And before you know it, you've been doing it for more than half your life.
And so Slopestyle, you do some Slopestyle events, a lot of them actually.
A lot of them.
For a long time.
Yeah.
I remember you retired, if I'm correct, you retired from Slopestyle in Whistler at Joyride. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think Crankworks was my last one in like 14 or 15.
Didn't you set up something like you were getting arrested by the police? Am I making that up, or was there something like this?
I think you're embellishing. That was just a joke. Whenever I have a friend who is an officer, I make sure to get a photo of them arresting me.
Okay.
So I have several friends who are police officers, and yeah, it's just something that I've had to do with all of them because everybody loves a good photo. Like
yeah, I wasn't sure. I just remember you in the bucket area with a police officer, and obviously I knew you had done nothing wrong. I knew it was like set up, but I didn't have the full story.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, I had a full smile on my face, and so did the officer. So,
So you competed in slopestyle up to 2014 or 2015?
Yeah, I can't remember which year exactly, but I competed in slope from, I want to say like 05 to 15 kind of thing.
Yeah, because your last Rampage also obviously went to Rampage, which makes a lot of sense since you had the slopestyle background as well as the freeride background with filming for All the New Disorder. You had like the perfect amount of skills for Rampage, doing like big jumps for movie segments as well as the slopestyle. You did Rampage up to 2014.
I believe so.
Because I went there in 2015. I actually wrote part of your line, and you were not there. So I assume 2014 was your last year.
That makes sense.
How was that going from focusing on movie segments and then slopestyle to then make it to kind of a mix of both, which is Rampage, where you build your own feature instead of being filmed, like even though you're still getting filmed during the event, like you're getting judged instead of just being filmed. How was that?
It was amazing because it was the same kind of structure as slopestyle, but just on the big mountain side of things. So there's no real difference except you're building your own track. And back then, I'd say the runs down were a little more raw than they are now. A lot of them could be like polished highways now.
Yeah.
But it's been just awesome. Riding Rampage the first time scared the absolute heck out of me. I'd never been on that sort of exposure before.
Yeah.
And so I went a little bit early the next year and got some time riding like King Kong and those fun trails. And you just get comfortable. Like anything, it just takes time and practice. And it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
Like the dirt out there has way more traction than you actually think it does. But then there's soft spots. There's no trees to actually gauge
the speed,
how big features are and things like that. So when you're seeing people fly off these massive cliffs and they're just a little dot in the air, and you're like, oh, that's not that big. Like, take that person and just give a little finger scale all the way down. And all those moves are so much larger than people anticipate. Like, for the most part, if you do go off your line or you crash, chances are you'll hit soft pockets, but there's also hard ones. And the rock is the same color as the dirt there.
And there's also some big, big rocks. Some of them you can move to make the landing a bit safer.
Exactly.
But there's some rocks that you cannot move.
Yeah.
And those rocks are equally as hard as the rocks we have here, but they're even sharper.
Yeah.
Usually sharp edges. And
it's a good point.
And so Rampage, as you mentioned, it's evolved a lot. It went from being like really raw to really polished. Why do you think so?
I think just because the moves are getting bigger, people are beginning to trick more things. So having a little more space for error is big. Like the jumps everybody are hitting now are
huge.
Exactly. So you know what? Give a little space for error. Let like you saw how big Gottschalk went off that 50-footer. He went like 75 feet. And then Tom Van Steenbergen front flipping it.
And like, I mean, as skilled as he is, like, you still have to have some margin for error. Like on a landing like this, which I still can't believe he, first of all, sent it. Second of all, landed it. Because the impact, even though it seemed like he landed perfectly, actually, the impact on his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his entire body is like something that's like no one can really understand. Like so even as he landed best case scenario, the impact was just like absolutely incredible. So with the landing like a bit shorter, a bit rougher, like maybe a bit flatter, like you would not have been able to handle.
Wouldn't even be a thought.
No.
And the fact that he sent that was bananas. Seeing Gottschalk backflip it, bananas. Seeing Adolf backflip it, I can't remember who else flipped that particular drop. Reed, that's right.
Reed, Adolf, and Simon.
And then Tom comes in and front flip it. And yeah, just that impact, like all that force going forward in addition to following that far.
Yeah.
insane, unbelievable.
Yeah,
like just wow.
And so now, because you were there,
yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Rampage. Obviously, you've been there as a competitor for many years, but now we see you on TV. So can you explain a little bit what's your position there?
Yeah, so I've been the judges analyst. So I'm not judging. I'm just trying to explain why the judges give some results. And I try to keep it positive to keep the flow of the show there. Like, I'm not going to completely criticize any decisions, but sometimes there's difficulty in explaining some of the scores. And if you look back, I'm sure you will notice one particular moment on my face where I was at a loss for words to explain a particular score. But that's part of the job. I signed up to do it, and it's a difficult one, but I feel like it's been a good job and very helpful to the viewer to understand what's happening and why people get these scores and how they can be beaten and how they can improve.
Yeah, because when you see on TV, there's a lot of things you don't realize.
Oh, yeah.
Like obviously the size of the jump, but the exposure, depending how it's filmed, you don't really notice that actually at the landing, the jump itself might not be that hard, but when you land, if you did make a mistake, you'll go off a cliff. And this is like something that obviously judges take in consideration, but when you sit on TV on your couch, you don't see that. So it's good to have like someone actually pointing that. And one thing that people might forget is that the judges have been there all week.
Yeah.
They watch what's happening, they walk the line, and they also see practice. And because they see practice, they have a pretty good expectation of what the rider wants to do during final. If during practice you've done your backflip stay down absolutely perfect every time, the judges know.
Hopefully.
Yes. The judges know if you plan to add a variation to that trick. And then if during the event you don't actually flip it, they know that you've made a mistake. Something happened that, you've been distracted, or like maybe it was a bit windy. But I feel like judges have expectations, right?
We have the judges have to go in with a neutral mindset. Just because someone's done something in practice doesn't mean we have to hold them to doing their contest run. Like, their run could be enough to get them to the place where they want to be, so they choose not to do it, or something goes wrong. But the judges have to go in with a neutral mindset. We can't be, or I shouldn't say we. The judges can't go in expecting certain moves and then dock points based off of knowledge of what they expected them to do. It has to be a clean slate. They have to judge that run as neutral as possible. So it is right. It is correct that we go and we watch practice. I'm hanging out with the judges, getting their intel. So I have talking points and understand where their heads are at and whatnot. But the judges cannot base the run off of what they've been told that they're to expect, because things change all the time on the fly. And if someone says they're going to flip or spin a drop and they do something else, you have to judge the run as is. You can't be like, oh, they messed up because they said they were going to do this. Like, the wind can shift. Anything can happen. They could tag the jump before. They could be going too fast. And it's like, if you're going too fast and you try to do a trick off one of those jumps, you're done for. So you have to use their discretion and judge as neutral as possible.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Obviously, that'll be a difficult place to be a judge. When you've seen a rider practice and nail a trick perfectly in practice or in training, and then they don't actually do it, it must be difficult to, judge what you saw, knowing what the rider might have missed.
Exactly.
And can you point out, actually, we should name riders, like, obviously, you're just focusing on the one. What are like 3 runs that impressed you the most, regardless of how they were judged at the last Rampage 2024?
Godcheck, Tom Van Steenbergen, Tyler McCall.
Okay.
Those are 3 runs that I was in awe of. Amplitude, speed, style, tricks. They had them all. And, you need to respect the judges' decisions. And I know a lot of people don't. I have experience in judging. That's probably why I think like that. But
because you've been judging as well.
I have judged Rampage twice before. And personally, I decided it is very difficult to judge and have all the judges somewhat aligned. So I opted out of doing it again. I still judge Slopestyle because it's everybody down the same track. It is easier to dissect and get aligned with the judges so you understand what's happening. But all in all, like, judging Rampage is, you're getting fed to the wolves no matter what. No matter who wins, there's only going to be one happy person at the end of the day.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that. There is, and myself, as like a fan of the sport, but also someone that has been there, there is definitely runs that impress me more than others. And because I can do tricks, I'm actually more impressed by people that do tricks than the people who do runs that are more similar to what I will do, right? Because can I do something that's steep and gnarly? Probably. Can I do a backflip off a cliff? Absolutely not.
Not with that attitude.
Well, I could try, and everything will go smooth until I touch the ground. But yeah, no, it's been like 2024 Rampage was pretty crazy. The level has gone absolutely insane. There's definitely some. I mean, as you mentioned, I would like to go and walk the lines because the run of T-Mac, that step down looks absolutely ridiculous. Even the run out when we saw Tom Eistedt like not being able to shut down the speed several times, and he's obviously a great rider, but his bike is not set up to be a downhill bike. It's set up to be able to take those big impacts. So therefore, that means if you want the bike to perform correctly at the landing, you're gonna sacrifice your braking.
Exactly.
Which on this jump is equally as hard. And also you can set up the bike for just one feature that can be set up for the entire line. So the lot that was really interesting. One point was Semenuk making it look so easy. I was there in 2018. That was a similar line, and he had a similar double drop. I feel like on TV it looks like nothing, and he makes it look so perfect. I actually didn't notice it was an opposite tail whip. I thought it was a regular tail whip.
Yeah.
So having you explain that he did an opposite tail whip, I mean, I can't even do a tail whip, but an opposite tail whip like seems even like crazier. I've seen someone doing that drop afterwards, a few months after, and crashing.
Yeah.
And the way it's filmed and the violence of the crash, which I hope this person recovers properly because it was absolutely insane. Now, seeing that Semenuk did an opposite tail whip of that.
Twice.
Yeah, twice, especially because he crashed on the first run, right? This is just something I can't even understand. Yeah. And when you see on TV, it just really looks like nothing. But like a lot of the things we do, like even back in the days, this video used to do the New World Disorder. It looks like a big jump, but when you go in person and you realize what it is, it's just absolutely nonsense.
Yeah. And they try to explain the magnitude of these drops and jumps through all the graphics on the screens, but it still doesn't do it justice.
And every single feature is different. You can have just the landing like slightly steeper or slightly flatter than another jump, and that makes it a totally different and more consequential drop.
Absolutely.
So, are you going back to Rampage next year?
I hope so. Okay. Yeah, all signs point to yes.
Is there like any details you can share from new venue maybe? I haven't chatted with Todd. I don't know if there's anything public or...
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. It's usually around May when we start getting the details of what's happening this year. And then, we don't have flights or hotels or anything booked until month out kind of thing. So no stress on my end. I know it's a hurry up and wait game. Like most things, like Red Bull is a giant brand, corporation, and they move at their speed and they do it right. So no rush.
They keep it tight and
they keep it very tight and quiet. So no intel this year. But yeah, should be pretty exciting.
Interesting.
So it always is.
Yeah. No, I look forward to see it, and I'll see if I can go in person.
Yeah.
And I've considered like going and doing some videos of practice and building and just to kind of document the things that you don't necessarily see on TV.
And honestly, the practice is the best part.
Yes, probably the scariest part too.
You're 100% right. It's the coolest seeing everybody guinea their big moves. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't go as planned out. Like you saw Bienva's explosion last year. And that was wild watching him come in. And you can't say anything. Like they're in the zone. He clearly knows his speed, his skill level it speaks for itself. And still, he was short by a half foot.
And that's the difference between, you make it and you don't.
Exactly. But when you're dropping 40 feet and the impact was...
Did you see it? Like, were you next to it?
Yeah. It was wild. And he made the right call not to ride the next day. It was a bummer because his line was pretty magnificent. And if they go back to that site, it's still going to be there. It's going to be fresh. But yeah, it's a big move, and it's wild. Like watching T-Mac and
the guinea pigs, that was
Tom Eisted guinea that a big hip as well. Like it's wild. Like all you can do is sit back and watch. Like, these guys, you trust their skill level, and you're a passenger in their life, kind of thing. And I know the feeling when you feel it in your bones when you have the speed. If you're not ready, if you are that go, no-go point, and you can't really take other people's opinions. You need to trust your skill set. And so, yeah, when they ask me, am I going fast enough? I'm like, I really don't want to answer that question for you.
Yeah, I know. I've been at... I've been at a drop at Rampage, and I thought I had the right speed, and my builder was like, no, I think you're going way too slow. And I just I felt confident that I had the right speed, but then having someone telling me that I'm going too slow was like, in the end, it worked out. We made some modification to the takeoff, just because, regardless, I was very scared. But yeah, it's really difficult. Everyone's got different technique. Everyone can, especially at this level, like riders are able to do a lot on the takeoff to either shut down the speed or also shut down the air or create more air to actually clear the landing.
Absolutely.
But on jumps that big with impacts that violence, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, your room for error is minimal. And so polishing a landing or making it a little more relaxed or a case pad or whatever, do your thing.
Totally, yeah. At the end of the day, we want the rider to have a great time, finish the run, and be healthy.
Yeah, we want to see success. We want the best run to win. We don't want people to crash out and get hurt. That's the most negative perspective of it all. It's like we want everybody to have a successful run, and then the person that rode the best takes the win. And that's how all events should be.
So, talking about Rampage, were you involved with the women's Rampage that happened a week prior?
Yeah.
Was it a week prior?
It was 2 days prior.
2 days prior, okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was incredible. The level of riding was unbelievable. Robin crushed it. Hands down deserved the win. I don't think anybody would debate that.
No, she looked a run to me seemed better than the other.
Yeah, case in point right there. But it would have been great to have Cami Nogueira still riding. She had a monstrous crash. I believe Chelsea sends it, hit that same drop and nailed it.
Yes.
It would have been awesome to see Chelsea put together a run. I think she probably would have had the only competitive run against Robbins, but unfortunately crashed in the same place she did on her first run. It's a bummer to see, but Gooms took it, crushed it, and it was a huge success. Would have loved to see second runs, but wind was picking up, and they had difficult terrain to work with. It was a little bit shorter and steeper, than the location that the guys had.
Yeah.
And so how they were able to groom that mountainside and make it rideable and work for their competition was incredible. It could not have been a better first women's rampage.
No, it was really cool to watch. Like, I liked a lot the run of Georgia.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That drop I was good friend with some of the builders there. And I was told that drop it looked like nothing in real life than it did on TV. Apparently lots more exposure. The braking was a challenge.
Big time.
They've did incredible.
Yeah.
So I look forward to see season 2, I guess, in 2025.
It's just going to get bigger and better. Like the women's skill set is so evolved and mature now that it is the right time to have women's rampage, and I fully support it. To actually be there, watch everybody digging, and then crush it on event day was so awesome.
Yeah.
Like the evolution of the sport and rampage in particular, and now Crankworx as well.
Crankworx, yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. No, every discipline, like I think it took obviously too long to have women allowed at those events, like they should have been in the first place. But now that they are, like the level of riding, it's been crazy. Like everyone's progressed a lot, and yeah, it's been cool to watch. If anything, like women's rampage was, almost more fun than watching the guys. I felt they really died, and obviously the guys, we've been watching them for over 20 years, and but seeing the women doing that was like, fresh and new. So the new was really cool. I would have been more excited to ride the women's venue than the men's venue.
Yeah?
Yeah, I felt like there was like more, I guess there was less people on the mountain, right?
Totally.
Because there were eight riders, I believe.
I believe that is correct, yeah.
Yeah, 8 riders versus 21 for the guys.
Was it
21? They might have lower a little bit this year.
I think it's like 15, is it not?
Yeah, you might be right.
I can't remember. I just work here.
So talking about like crashes and injury, can we talk about your injuries? Because you've had such a long career.
I had some good ones.
I know that there have been some good ones. I can name 2.
Yeah.
Which one you want to start with?
Which ones do you remember?
The knee.
The old knee. Yeah, I did my kneecap when I was 18. I had a crash in the bike park and through my Kyle Straight 661 knee pads, I turned my my patella into 2 clean pieces, and that was a solid 8 months recovery. And then I literally felt that until I did my femur in the Avalanche in 2023. And my sports recovery therapist, JNUA, he used to work for the Blue Jays for like 15 years. And the work he did to repair the scar tissue in my femur actually helped my knee as well, because I had so much scar tissue under there.
Basically 20 years later.
Almost
20 years later.
Yeah. So, yeah, but yeah, those are 2 big ones. I was in an Avalanche.
So that's the one I really want to talk about, because I knew about your knee injury, you had mentioned it, but then when we were in Norway, Geoff and I both did a presentation for some of the customers from Norrøna. So Norrøna's got those really cool headquarters in Oslo. It's beautiful. There's a restaurant, there's a climbing gym, obviously the store and all the offices where everything is designed. Anyway, it's just a really, really cool space. And they've got that movie theater.
Yeah.
It's a little movie theater. And Geoff and I both did a presentation about our careers. And Geoff?
Whatever you want.
Okay, Geoff.
The other guy in the room.
Geoff, you talked at length about your Avalanche accident. So there's a lot of ski fans watching the channel, because mountain bikers usually like skiing as well.
For sure.
You love skiing, I love skiing, and I have very little experience in the backcountry. the biggest reason is the fear of avalanches. So hearing your experience was pretty crazy. So yeah, I look forward to have you share it now.
Yeah, I'll try to trim it down a little bit. But we were in a group of 3 skiing just off the back of Cyprus in an area called Christmas Gully. And I was middleman, and dense fog. Our order got a little skewed through the dense fog. I had turned into last man unknowingly, and looking for who I thought was the last man back up through the fog. He never came. Instead was a little wave of snow that actually took my legs out, dragged me uphill and over the next exposure. And while this was all happening, I was just thinking like, wow, this is how this occurs. Like, we'd already skied that pitch twice. Nothing had moved. It was like -8 degrees, 40 centimeters of fresh. We'd done all our tests, and that's just how unpredictable snow conditions are. It literally took me into a terrain trap, sliding down, and I was kind of in like a 3/4 position, being pulled down the hill, and I was trying to kick my skis off. Couldn't get them. And I saw a tree that I was 100% going to impact. And I knew in my head that if I'd stayed in this position, the way I was sliding towards the tree, I would have hit my head and I'd be dead 100%. And
so how much speed you had?
I have no clue. Like at time, it seems like slow-mo.
It's like your speed, but also the momentum of the avalanche pushing you, right? Also weight.
And the weight of the snow that you're in. You go from 180-pound human with ski equipment on to now you're part of this hundreds of pounds of snow that's all coming down on itself. And so there's no slowing down. Like I grabbed onto a tree branch like when I first got taken over the exposure, and been biking for almost 3 decades. Like you have good hand strength I can definitely support myself with one arm holding onto something, and ripped it out of my hand like nothing. And I was able to dig the heels of the skis in to slow down enough to turn my body 90 degrees. So at least I wasn't going to impact my upper body on this tree. And I just braced for impact while I was being carried in this little wave, and hit the tree, tried to wrap my arms around my head to give myself a air pocket in case I got fully covered. And I was buried nearly up to my nipples, but luckily I was in a seated position, and I didn't know any damage had occurred yet. Like I was in complete shock. And I tried to yell for my group. I knew exactly where our meet point was. That was about 200 meters away, I'd say, but it was through this tree island. And with the new snow and everything, it's just swallowing any noise. So I'm yelling, not getting any feedback. And I started digging out to have a look at my leg, make sure I was all good, find my skis. And my leg wasn't there. My leg was not next to the tree at all. And I was like, all right. Started digging back, and I saw this bend in my pants. And I was just like, holy, if that is my knee, my riding career is done. That's everything torn. And so I started following the bend in my pants, and I saw another bend. And I grabbed it, and I was like, that's my knee. That's good. That means this is bone. And I went into full medical mode at this point. And I started following it, dug it out, and now it's occurring to me that my right boot is in my left armpit. And I'm like, oh my God.
I've listened to that story twice, because you also told the story at Norway Canva, and I just still...
It's nuts, man. Like I was locked in. I felt like I was working on someone else. And I grabbed my boot out of my left armpit, and I brought it back to straight, and there was zero resistance. And I was just like, I detonated this thing. Like I need to make sure that my femoral artery is not severed or nicked or anything. you'd have like 10 minutes and then you'd be dead.
Yeah.
And so I got the snow off my lap, I undid my pants, and I started feeling around inside for any signs of blood. Nothing. No blood whatsoever. So I started trying to feel for pooling, any soft bumps, only hard ones. And I was like, is that bone? Like, what? Like, am I going to keep my leg? No clue what's going on. I'm just like, okay, I'm not bleeding out. I'm not going to die right now. And in this moment, I'm thinking, I'm like, the one promise I made to my wife about skiing is I wouldn't die in an avalanche. And if I do, she's going to fucking kill me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, honestly, I'm going to do whatever it takes not to die today. And I dig out the rest of my left leg. Still have my ski on that one. It's good to go. So I reach over, punch the ski off, and I make the decision that I need to get down and get line of sight contact with my party. And so I turn my body.
There's no what? There was cell phone service?
Minimal. And at this time, I'm like, time is of the essence. Like thinking where I am right now, even if I get contact, I'm sitting on a steep slope under a tree canopy. They're not going to risk skiing down on me, possibly triggering another slide. If they come in, they're going to have difficulty getting through the canopy. It's steep. There's no staging area or anything. And how long will that take? And it's -8 degrees. Time is of the essence. Like days are short. It's winter. And so I decide exactly. So I decide I need to get myself down to get line of sight to call search and rescue. So I turn my body 9 degrees, bring my leg along with me, and I start passing myself down from branch to branch to branch through the tree line. And I get to the bottom of the tree line, and it's about 40-degree slope for about 80 feet, 100 feet kind of thing. And I was just like, I need to get down. I need to get down now before the pain gets in. And I literally take a second to put my goggles on, holding onto a tree. I'm like, and I just rolled myself backwards. Out to the flat bottom. Boom. And I'm now on my stomach. I feel a slam on my back, and that's my leg. And I take that leg off my back, and I have line of sight with my crew now. And they're about still like 120, 150 meters away. And they're like, you all good? And I was just like, my leg is broken. Call a helicopter. And they think I'm kidding. And they're like, we'll come help you find your skis. And I was just like, this is real life. Call a bleeping helicopter. And I see them both take out their phones, immediately on with 911 that transfers you to search and rescue. And that's good for everybody to know because a lot of people don't know how to call search and rescue. Just 911. Do it. It's free. They're more than happy to get you out of there. Just do it. And now that I'm at the bottom, they're on the phones. It took them about 45 minutes to get to me just because it was steep snow. And I dragged myself as far as away I could, away from the hill. Pain's starting to come in. I tried to make a little snow bench with my leg on it, and I buried it in snow to try and keep the pain down, just to numb it. And by the time they got up to me, like, I am now a little bit sweaty. It's cold, and the helicopter can't get in because of the dense fog. So we were there for about 3.5 hours before the bird could get in. And it was about 3:15, 3:30, like getting late in the day for winter. And finally, there's a break in the fog. A helicopter got in. And from what I believe as well, is it was the one day that they had lent out or had their actual longline winch getting repaired, or I don't know if it was on lease or not. So they had to do the long line. So they had to fly back and forth to like get eyes on, see if they can get in, then go rip back, throw the long line on, then again, bump in.
Which, by the way, if you want to see some of the rescue, it's actually be filmed because it was on an episode of North Shore Rescue.
North Shore Rescue.
Which I've watched. It's on a channel called
The Knowledge Network.
The Knowledge Network. great show, and that follows the episode of the different search and rescue happening on the Sea to Sky corridor, anywhere from Vancouver all the way
island,
to Whistler. Mountain biking accident, hikers getting lost, and professional mountain biker getting buried in an avalanche.
Trying to ski.
Yeah. And I knew it was Geoff. He had told me about it, but I really encourage you to watch the show. It's free, and that is going to give you even a greater appreciation for search and rescue.
Yeah, these people are volunteers. They're doctors, they're avid outdoors people, and they're volunteering their time. And the fact that they don't make a dime from this, they get a couple cool jackets and things like that, I think, perhaps. But the fact that they volunteer their time to save idiots like us, I have nothing but praise and support and thanks for everything. I'd probably be pretty dicked if you guys weren't there.
So the helicopter finally comes in. Do they long line you out?
The first guy off. I thought he looked like the guy that I had helped with a rescue months back on Cyprus as well. It was a bike crash that I was present for, and I called search and rescue, and they were too funny. The first guy off the line was just like, Gully, what's up? I was just like, head's good, back's good, circulation is fine, breathing fine, femur is dusted. He's just like, yep, have you ever tried ketamine? I'm like, no. What better time than now? And they gave me the green whistle, and he's like, breathe on this as much as you can. And it was crazy. Just all the pain subsided, and they threw me into the red bag. It's like a duffel bag that they pump up, and it turns into a spine board.
Yep.
And they throw you in there, threw heating bags on me and everything to keep me warm, because 3.5 hours in -8 with just your buddies trying to keep you warm. No. It's like they're getting cold too. So, and at this time, like, we'd begun strapping skis together to make a sled to get out, because we're like, are they going to get in here before it gets dark? But they got me out of there. Long story short, now femur was in like 17 pieces, just full detonation. And Dr. Adam Sidke put a surgical pin down there. I think there's 6 screws in there, but they don't even touch the actual fracture point anymore. Like they open up here, they send the rod all the way down through your hip. Then they tack it up. They don't want to risk infection by opening the actual fracture point. So, and it's different too. It's different everywhere in the world. Like I talked to Tom Eisted when was it Tom? Or another fella who did their femur, and they opened up right at that point and went to work there.
Yeah, every injury is so different.
Exactly. And so after that, it was 16 weeks of no weight bearing. And I was obviously useless for a hot minute, but with the time on my hands, I began learning Spanish with working with Orbea. And then I took on some ambassador coordination responsibilities to fill my time. And now, 2 years later, it's segued into an actual job. So, growing up.
Something came out positive of that.
Exactly. I mean, we're fully functional. We're back to 100%. So,
I've seen you ride, yeah.
Yeah.
You seem back to 100%.
We Gucci.
Do you still ski?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite ski at the moment?
I am running the Atomic Backland 107, I believe, and it's unbelievable. Great touring ski, nice and light. Got out for a couple tours this year. For some reason, my wife didn't let me tour last year.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the craziest thing, but I do enough sports, and yeah, I mean, if she's going to take a little thing away, I fully respect it due to the outcomes we've seen before now. So, yeah, she's just looking out. She wants to keep me around, and I got to appreciate that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up that podcast, which by the way, you can listen on Spotify and soon on Apple Podcasts. I just need to get going with it. I finish every podcast with questions about bike settings. So
this is going to be hilarious.
I've sat on your bike.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen your bike. One thing that shocked me is that for someone that had a career in slopestyle and in freeriding, you ride a full 29er bike, not even a mullet. How come?
Couple reasons. Ordering 2 different wheel sizes and tire sizes is silly and more complicated than it has to be. And I've always run the same wheel size throughout my career, be it 20. Well, that's not true. I rode a 24, 26 went back when I was a tween, but when I finished growing, I've always run the same wheel size. I personally feel like the bike rides better for me, and I think it's just personal preference. I feel like the mullet, you're just like a little bit back, and it's just odd in my head. Like I've always run the same wheel size, and 29ers they feel great cornering. I don't know. It's just
you tall also. How tall are you?
Yeah, it's true. I'm 6 foot. So yeah, I personally love it. I would never want to try a mullet, to be honest.
Okay.
And I don't know why. Like I just feel like my bikes ride great, and why change a good thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes like change is sometimes it's a bit scary, right? You got like a product that works well.
Yeah.
You're like, I've got those brake pads. They are awesome. Do I want to try another model of brake pads when, I like those ones? It's a question I have all the time about brake pads. Is at first, when I got on Hayes, I tried the 2 different pads, and I liked one better than the other one. And I've never wanted to try back the old one, just because I'm like, now I've got the same brakes, same brake pads on every bike. It feels the same on every bike. Whatever I do, I know how it's gonna perform. And therefore, I don't really want to try again and change the settings of something that works perfectly.
Exactly.
Same with handlebars. One Up just came out with a 50mm bars, and I've had 35mm rise for basically my entire career on every single bike. But there's one bike, which is this one, which is a spin drift. Whatever you call this, the head tube is pretty short. And I run my bars like very high for most people. So therefore, a new 50mm rise would make more sense. And they came out with a 50mm, which I thought was like a great idea. It's actually sold out. But I was like, I don't know if I want to try it, because I have a feeling it's going to be better. But at the same time, I don't really want to change something that works great. So I did try it. I ended up liking it a lot. But yeah, sometimes you just don't want to change because you get something that works and you're comfortable with it. And yeah, you just want to go with that.
Yeah. No, like in our industry too, like it's the idea of a standard is non-existent. Every company has their standard, and it just makes parts non-compatible with one another. It makes things more complicated. It makes orders stupid and so tough to get everything dialed in. Like if you're a consumer and ordering a bike from scratch and just building it together, you're going to get something wrong. And if you don't, that's incredible, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. Yeah, there's obviously from one brand to the other, even from one model to the other model in one brand. But obviously there is a reason why brands do that. It's not just, because like on this shock, okay, so this is like a regular shock, but on another frame that looks similar, you're going to have a trunnion mount. And obviously there is reasons behind that. So that makes ordering product definitely a little bit more complicated, but at the same time, engineers are there to try to get, the lightest, best bikes they can. And sometimes they have to do a few things that for a customer doesn't necessarily make sense, because that's going to mean that the previous cranks or the previous brake adapter is not going to fit onto the new frame, but there is often a reason for it.
Oh my God. It's too much. We're going to do 148. Now we're going to do 148 boost. Now we're going to do 150.
But you play golf.
Yeah.
You can relate to all the changes in between the different clubs. Like some stuff is like so minimal and...
Yeah, but you don't change.
You don't change.
You find what works for you like, and like, sure, if you change your actual product, it's like changing a bike, but you find what works for you and you more or less stay in between the tape for what works for you. And it's like, sure, if you're going to do an overhaul and rebuild, like the same with your riding style, if you were to change anything, it takes time to adapt. And sometimes you're happy where your game is. Sometimes you're happy where your bike is. Sometimes you're happy with what you eat for dinner.
And talking about bike riding, you pretty big into e-bikes?
I love e-bikes.
How much e-bike riding do you do versus regular biking?
To be completely honest, probably 50-50.
50-50?
Yeah, it really just depends on who I'm riding with that day. If I'm going to do something solo, probably bop out an e-bike just to go get more in.
Yeah.
And if I'm riding with the gang and everybody's pedaling, I'm 100% down. And it just really depends. If I'm doing a little bit of YouTubing or whatever, I'm on the road, generally I'll probably take the e-bike just so I can hammer up more laps, go explore more terrain, be efficient, and just burn through a battery.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like when you, so like we are here in Squamish. I mean, I love riding my bikes, but I can just pedal my regular bike. I already know the trails, right? So yeah. I'm not trying necessarily to do as many laps as possible. Mm-hmm. But when I travel somewhere, I visit a new place and there is 15 trails. It's really nice to have an e-bike to be able to do 5 of those, because on a regular bike, I may be able to get 2. But now my new trick is just because I've got a Ford F-150. So when I go to the North Shore in Vancouver, I usually take both bikes. I take the Spindrift, or one of my regular bike, and my e-bike. I start by 2 laps on the e-bike, usually finish the battery, and then I switch to the regular bike. That way, when I make a trip to Vancouver, instead of doing 1 or 2 laps, I can get 4, maybe 5 laps.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. I try to be as efficient as possible with bike theft being as high as it is. Probably not going to bring 2 bikes. But if I'm riding by myself, I'll probably go e-bike. I'm riding with other e-bikers, go do that. If everybody's pedaling or we're shuttling, I'm going to be on the normal bike. But yeah, you don't have as much time as you used to. And like when people grow up and they realize this, and like you're actually contributing to the workforce now instead of being a professional teenager, time's limited. And I still get people chirping on e-bikes, and I'm just like, think of an original insult at least. Like, think of something funny. No, don't be like, cheater bikes. You're like, man, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Lance Armstrong was the best cheater in the game.
Well, I think that's it for the podcast. Thanks for coming. If you enjoy the podcast, make sure you like it, subscribe, comment. You can leave a review on Spotify. I don't know if you can do that on YouTube, but I appreciate positive comments, constructive comments, even negative comments if they're constructive. As always, you can check out the link down the description. This podcast was brought to you by Norona, as you see, with some t-shirts. No, actually, we changed it because Geoff rocked up with the exact same t-shirt I had, so I had to change it just to get a bit of variety. Thanks for watching. See you next week. That was good. How long was that?
Sick.
1 hour and 14 minutes, I think.
Bam!
I normally do 1 hour, 25 minutes.
Shabba.